Alright, you want a nasty story to finish out Versus the Network 2023 Part 1? Well, I've got you covered. The Tick, created by Ben Edlund, was a comedic comic book series about a vulnerable superhero who protects the city known as The City with his loyal but nerdy and wimpy sidekick, Arthur. The series was popular enough to get an animated adaptation on Fox Kids, but as time would go on, it would prove to not be enough. The Tick had to come back to TV, and sure enough he did. And in doing so, he gave us Versus the Network number 305, What Happens When the Network Plays the Long Game. The Tick's live-action adaptation would prove to be very different than its animated counterpart. It would be closer in tone to the comics, but also generally toned down. Being pitched as Seinfeld in tights, The Tick 2001, as we're gonna call it from here on out, aimed to be more of a sitcom rather than a traditional superhero/action comedy show. The series took a year and a half of development time, but eventually Fox picked it up. And that's when everything got bad. Fox never cared about The Tick. Oh sure, they pretended to care, and they made a big effort shilling out its ad space to advertisers, but there was one fatal flaw that The Tick 2001 had that Fox could not get over. You wanna know what it is? It's the fact that Fox didn't own the series. It was TriStar. Whatever happened with the show, whatever big success it could end up being, all the credit would have to go to them. Fox was just the network that was gonna put it on. While yes, they would get a large portion of the revenue it created, they wanted that full control, the full ownership that would make them that much richer. From the looks of it, it seems like Fox laid out this master plan spanning over the entire production to make sure that The Tick failed. First of all, Fox didn't give the series nearly enough money to do what it wanted. Given its heavy reliance on sets, detailed props, and special effects, The Tick would need more funding than your traditional sitcom, but Fox wouldn't really budge. They got a little more, but not enough to make it a smooth production. It took ages to produce all 9 episodes because the production frequently shut down. There wasn't enough money to keep things going, so it was a struggle to even make these things happen. But lo and behold, they did, and the crew was very proud of what they've done. Then Fox decided to congratulate them by giving them some heavy promotion during the World Series. While at first the World Series would be like a good place to advertise things, it also seems to be where Fox advertises some of their, how do I put this, riskier projects, let's just say. Like, oh, I don't know, Alan Gregory for one. Those who saw these advertisements noticed the time that it would be coming on. It would be airing in prime time. Sure, sitcoms were known to air in prime time and find some decent success, but many Hollywood insiders found this kind of strange, considering that this niche and experimental show would have some very stiff competition, most notably Survivor and CSI. The Tick may be nigh invulnerable, but not even he can survive a ratings beatdown like that, which means that it would be totally fine to use this as a justification to get The Tick 2001 cancelled. Except that didn't really happen, and Fox didn't expect it to either. The Tick found a small, albeit loyal fan base, and was overall a modest success. This is exactly what Fox wanted. All of these advertisements they put in place made the show a hit. They had a good reputation amongst advertisers now, so it was time to pull out.
What?
All promotion for the show basically stopped. You could watch this network for hours on end and have no idea that The Tick 2001 was on, or even existed if you didn't know any better. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as the advertisement stopped, the viewership declined, which means that Fox had enough reason to cancel the show. Judging by appearances, they did everything right. They gave the show enough money to produce the episodes, they aired a bunch of advertisements for the big premiere, and they kept the show on the air long enough to air all 9 episodes, even though they made the official cancellation announcement after the airing of episode 8. And I mean right after, as in the episode was barely done by the time the announcement was made, but that doesn't matter, the network is always right. It was the show's fault for not finding an audience. It was too expensive, too niche, and it wasn't owned by Fox. It goes without saying that this is a recipe for disaster, but to the cast and crew's credit, they didn't go quietly into the night. They were very outspoken about the way Fox treated the show, especially two actors in particular. Nestor Carbonell, who played Batman well, and Patrick Warburton, who played the title character. Both of them repeatedly and loudly shared their experience on the show, and they told the story that I just told to you. They also noted that Fox used the really lame excuse of production costs to cancel the show. Normally, this is a justifiable excuse. As I say many times and will continue to say many times in the future, shows have to make a profit in order to stay on the air. But this argument falls apart for two reasons. One, the show never really got the proper funding it needed anyways. And two, Fox was part of the reason that it was more expensive. Because Fox didn't give them enough time to produce the episodes, the cast and crew had to scramble to meet their deadline, which of course means overtime pay. That was their main justification for killing off The Tick 2001, and it was all Fox's fault. The way that Fox was so willing to play out the long game to make sure that The Tick died is unbelievable. Here on Versus the Network, we have seen a lot of instances of networks trying to sabotage a show, most notably with the Weird Al show, but even CBS knew how to do it right. Granted, knowing how to kill a show unfairly is not a good thing to know, but still they did. When they targeted the Weird Al show and tried to make it fail, they made sure to invest as few resources as possible. Again, like The Tick 2001, Weird Al got a pretty decent budget, but it also never went all that high. The Tick, despite not getting the money that it needed, still got quite a lot. Way more than something like the Weird Al show. Also, The Tick got a very expensive ad campaign during the World Series, while the Weird Al show got next to nothing. And of course, the Weird Al show bombed right off the bat, so CBS didn't really have to put that much effort into screwing it over, partially because CBS Kids was kind of dying at that point. But The Tick 2001 started off as a hit and then became a bomb, meaning that Fox had to put some extra effort into making a failure. And that right there is the craziest part. They could have had a hit. The show was finding an audience right after episode 1. Very, very rarely does that ever happen. Fox could have still gotten a decent chunk of money from the show, but they wanted it all. And if they couldn't have it all, then they would make sure that there was nothing to argue over at all. It's a shame that The Tick 2001 came out in, well, 2001, because if something like this happened today, we all would hear about it, and the network would look really bad. And since they want their reputation to be as pristine as possible to attract those advertising dollars, they would rectify the situation at once. But no, sadly, back in the prehistoric year of 2001, we didn't really have things like social media or tell-all blogs, so The Tick had to succumb to the mistreatment of Fox. But how can you, the aspiring creator, learn from this? All I can really tell you is, look out for the signs. If you see history start to repeat itself, and you notice that your network or streaming company or whatever is starting to do all of this to you, let their mistreatment be known. You probably have a loyal fan base, or at least people that are looking on curiously, that'll run with your story and let everyone know what's really going on. The only way to beat the network in this case is to tell their evil plan to the world. They'll be just fine with doing this behind closed doors, but the second word gets out, suddenly it's all a misunderstanding, and there was never any ill will. We're all friends here. Happy, successful, money-making friends. If you learn anything from this video, it should be that even something as invincible as The Tick is still weak to network interference. And before we go on to the outro, it's time for a Media Mementos fan art shoutout. Take a look at this. This comes courtesy of Lennon Dash, and when I saw this, honestly, it blew me away. The attention to detail here is phenomenal. There's me with my VHS tape, there's V over there, Billy with his puppet friend. Surrounding us, we have some of the more famous, or I guess, from my perspective, some of the most liked media I've covered. There's the other father from Coraline, Dave the Barbarian from Take a Wild Guess, Oral from Moral Oral, Lucky from Whacked, Dan from Dan Versus, Celeste from Danganronpa, George the Volcano from the Volvic commercials, and Captain Hero from Drawn Together. I hope you guys know that I save all the fan art you guys send me and I have it in a little file so I can look at it whenever I feel down. And it's stuff like this that never fails to lift my spirit. Thank you so much, Lennon Dash. I love it. Also, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Bailey Maloney. As promised, I would give a shout out to whoever figured out what all 5 Versus the Network videos would be, and Bailey did it. Congratulations! Everybody give Bailey a round of applause, or else. Well, folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? And what did you think of Versus the Network 2023 Part 1? And more related to the video, what'd you think of the Tick's treatment? And what do you think was the worst part? Comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Man, I've wanted to do this video for a long time. It was originally planned to be in Versus the Network 1, but then got bumped back to 2 and now 3. So it's about time, am I right? And now, it's time to thank our wonderful Patreon friends, starting with our Masters of Fate. Manny Paredes, Kev, Leaf Storm, Ryan Williams, Chan 11, Woody Woo, and MD the Dude. And now our executive producers, Unkale, Blackjack, Edward Haas, H.R. Hoffman, Who Else But Zane, YouTube Milkwad, Albert Robinson, I Am Fove, Aaron Vasquez, Ravioli Supremo, and Indiscreet One. If you two would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then consider donating to the Patreon. There's a link in the description below for you to check out. It's not very expensive, my friends. Why not give it a shot? Alright folks, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next time, and I'll be back with more Versus the Network in the great month of November. Stay tuned.